Do you have a high ticket program that guarantees results? Well, if you don't, maybe you should. And I have Christie here today. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself, why this topic matters to her, and why it should matter to you. Christie, welcome to the show.
Well, hey, Shauna, I am really excited to be with you today and to hopefully keep my fingers crossed, share some great wisdom and maybe some resources at the end with your audience.
Oh, that sounds fabulous. I love it. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Shed some light on where you're coming from.
Oh, yeah. So, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been kind of playing around with different businesses for 23 years now. And I don't know about you, Shauna, or the listeners out there, but I really believe that we all have a purpose, but we don't always find our purpose immediately. Like when we're setting out to kind of figure out what we want to do when we grow up, it doesn't just like happen overnight. And so that is my journey. It's been a constant evolution. It started with a women's networking organization out of Chicago that ended up by growing into a multi-chapter networking national organization to support women in their lead generation. And that's been amazing. I love being able to support women. But on that journey, somebody invited me to share my story. That's where I learned the power of story to attract your ideal clients and to connect with them and to create more loyal brand ambassadors for your business. And that's been fun. I'm still doing that. I love that. But what I realized in that process in helping people share their stories and get their books done and become Amazon bestselling authors is they wanted to be able to make an impact in the world. They wanted their mess to be a mission and they wanted to monetize it with the business, but they didn't have that business piece in place. And so that's kind of where I'm focusing right now is we still publish because publishing is a piece of what we do with our high ticket offer. But we're using the book at the end to be that lead generation tool. Once they get their high ticket program created and proven, then you've got this kind of like this cash machine rolling where you're able to make a huge impact by helping people learn from your mistakes, learn from your successes, sharing your wisdom. And then you're able to help more people because you've got this leverage group program that allows you to help more people, less time, and allows you to have more freedom as an entrepreneur, because that's what we're all looking for, right? Being able to have the freedom to work when we want and work where we want. And that's really what my focus is to help my clients with. And it's just been a super fun journey.
I love that. And who doesn't want that, right? Who doesn't want more freedom, more time, more clients, more I can just feel it now raining down upon us. It's beautiful. I love it. And so what I think is interesting is how you're starting out with a networking community. You're starting out connecting with people and helping them to build their business one client at a time, right? We're attracting clients. And then you emerge into this space where you realize the profound impact that storytelling has on gathering those leads that convert into clients. And now we're doing this at scale.
Yes, absolutely.
That's quite amazing. So tell me a little bit more about that, how you've used your story in your past to make sure that this works. Like, how do you know? Like, what was that aha moment?
Well, you know what? We all have different stories, and our stories continue to evolve. And so when I first shared my story, it was back in 2012, I think it was. And I did that just so I can have a book. I did that so I can have it when I'm networking, right? I didn't really see the big picture of putting my story out in print. First of all, it was super therapeutic for me. And it was able to really inspire people. I mean, to connect with them. Because when you think about it, when we work with our clients, we should, and we do, focus our energy on getting to know them and their story. And they don't always get to know us on a human level. They'll be like, yeah, Shauna's great. She does this for me. She's, allowed me to get so much brand visibility and I'm getting people booking calls with me and it's amazing. But we don't necessarily know you as a person. And so for me, when I got new clients, I would give them that book. It was a co-author book, so they'd read my story and a bunch of other stories, but it allowed them to get to know me as a person and it created that connection. And I just really believe that that was the success of my organization because my leaders got to know me as a person. They got to know my story. They got to learn why I started the organization. And my members, at one point I had almost 500 members. Now couldn't get to know all of them because at that point we were in scale mode. But they got to know me. They got to see my vision, catch my vision. And as a business brand, whatever that may be, we need to get our story brand out there. We need for people to know our story. So we're not transactional. We're able to build relationships because people can buy widgets anywhere, right? But they can't buy you. They can't buy the relationship. And they're going to work with somebody that they trust. And getting our story out there is really a key piece to it. So for anybody that's listening, if you don't have your story etched in stone, if you're not using your story when you speak, if it's not on your website, if it's not in everything you do, you're missing a huge opportunity to create relationships and attract your ideal clients, and just being able to get your brand noticed and loved and trusted. It's huge.
And everybody who's been around for any length of time knows that I am on board the story train, the connection train, the interpersonal relationships, and the fact that we are people. We are people within our businesses. And so that is indeed how we connect. In fact, that's how people connect with even the big corporations. They form a relationship with them. And it's an important aspect to marketing that historically has been forgotten. They've just kind of thrust that to the side, that interrelationship between yourself and potentially a brand or a person. So I'm curious then, because we talk about storytelling and how it attracts people and how it connects to people. But what's the strategic element here? Like, how are we combining that? Because I could stand up and tell everybody my life story. I mean, I do some days, but that's not actually the thing that's going to make me money. So what's the other side of it? How do we make it work?
Yeah. And this is why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I've helped hundreds of people get their story told, share it in an impactful way, and it becomes their message in the world. But they didn't have a next step. A lot of people think that they're going to get out and speak and they're going to make money as a speaker, but they don't have an offer. And yeah, you can get paid to speak. You can get, 500,000, even if you're really good, thousands of dollars to come in to speak. But that will pale in comparison to giving that audience a next step with you, some way to help them further with some sort of an offer. And it really serves the audience. So it serves you because you're able to help more people. And it serves that audience because, I don't know about you, but I've seen so many speakers that I thought were amazing, right? They were so good. I was inspired to take action. They really made an impact in me as an audience member, but there was no next step. And so I just walked away with, like that balloon that you let the air out and it goes, woo! Mm-hmm. So that was kind of where I think sometimes people think that by making an offer, they're being salesy, but it's not. You just make the offer, like have some option for people to take a next step with you. It's up to them to say yes or no, but by not giving them that option, it doesn't, you don't serve them well if you don't give them that option. And so the next step would be to have some sort of a prospect to client journey for them, whether it is a free gift, a strategy call, which I don't really recommend being the next step. Now, there is a process to that. So if you're speaking to an audience, you want everybody to have a free gift, and you can allow a limited amount of people to get on your calendar. Like say the first 10 people that book with me, that really want to take the next step, here's my schedule, or here's my link, and then have it cap at 10 people. You don't want to give everybody the opportunity to jump on your calendar, but you want to be strategic in what that looks like, and then have that in place for people to just get into your world, get into on your email list, follow you on social media, whatever that looks like. And then the step after that is to have some sort of a program in place that will allow you to really create that difference with them. And I'm one of the people that don't believe in the ascension model, where you want to have like a, like $100 program or a course, and then like move people up. I just
upsell,
too many people
upsell. It's exhausting on both ends.
And not only that, people buy those low ticket programs or courses or whatever you want to call it, and they don't actually do anything with them. Yeah. Right. Or they watch them all, but they don't have they don't have anybody to support them. They don't have anybody to hold them accountable. They don't have anybody to ensure that what they're learning actually gets implemented.
Yeah.
So you want to have something in place that will allow your ideal client to say, yeah, I need your help, and have it in a way that basically is a no-brainer offer. And with that no-brainer offer, one of my amazing strategies, I think, it's not even a strategy, it's just what I do. One of my core values is to have a risk reverse offer. And a risk reverse offer is really what I feel sets apart my program with all of the competition. And that's what I do with my clients, is allow them or help them create a strategy for them to have their risk reverse no-brainer offer. So their ideal clients will be like, oh my gosh, yes, that's perfect. I get it. I love that. I'm in.
You know, I'm on board with that. That is definitely something that I advocate for 100%. I always want the people coming into my world to feel rest assured that they are going to get the results that they are paying for. It's just bad business practice to do otherwise, in my humble opinion. And so I advocate that for that 10 times over, 10 times over. Absolutely. And so once people are getting into your space and they've developed their offer and they've started gathering leads and they're showing up and speaking and sharing their story, what is the next level goal? Like, what sort of, I feel like this is leading to some sort of like life-changing result. Tell me about that.
Mean for the audience?
For the people who are working with you and developing this system, in the end, this is a lot of really impactful work that you're describing.
Yeah.
And they're hoping to achieve fame. I'm not convinced. It's more than that.
Yeah. So for me, with my ideal client, it is the person who wants to make a bigger impact. It's the person who has maybe had a very successful career, but didn't feel like they were actually doing what they were created to do. They were doing what they needed to do to pay their bills, but they weren't doing what lights them up. And so that's kind of like my ideal client, the person that has helped everybody else accomplish their dreams, but now it's their turn to step into their dreams. And so it's not about making money. Yes, they need to make money. Yes, it's important to have that monetary transaction because it creates commitment and allows you to keep serving people. But the people I work with are more intentional about making a bigger impact and helping more people.
And I love what you said there about they get to step into their dream.
Yes.
That is the end game.
Yes.
And your dream, when you fit the bill and you've walked the journey that you've allowed them to, really is that impact, that legacy. You're able to create a space where you feel like you've freaking changed the world, for crying out loud.
Yeah. I just actually got a great quote yesterday and I was looking for it, but it's not here. Something like, a goal is just a dream without action. I had two of them about goals and dreams, but we all have dreams and we are able to believe they're going to come true when we're kids, right? Like we want to be a superhero or whatever we want to be. And then we think we can fly and all of the fun things that we think as kids. And then we learn no, like we learn our limits, and then those limits get imposed on us by other people. And so we end up by just existing, and we're not necessarily living our full potential. We're not living into our purpose. And so we don't know how many days we're on this planet. We don't know if tomorrow we're going to get hit by a bus. And if we don't create a legacy that is in alignment with what we were created for, I just feel like it's a huge missed opportunity. However, when people are brave enough to step into their purpose and really own the power of that, the right people, the right opportunities, the right resources will come to them. Everything aligns because the reason is right. You can't help but succeed if you just own this path, own this journey, and just take it one step at a time.
Ah, that's so nice. I'm just receiving. I'm receiving it all. Christie, that's beautiful. And it actually kind of goes full circle. because now we start reflecting on that story again. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful that you've said that right from the get-go, that story is evolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're doing a lot of introspection and a lot of development as we are unearthing the story the first time. But now that we come full circle and we look at the evolutionary process of developing that story, we're
Yeah.
now able to level up ourselves, that dream, and the next version of our story.
So I'm so glad you brought this up because we've been doing this story piece for 12 years. I've helped hundreds of women and a few brave men get their stories out. And I've had from those like 300 clients, I probably had another, I don't know, 700 that I've had conversations with that for whatever reason didn't say yes. And the one biggest objection or the one biggest reason why people say no is that, well, my story, I'm still in my story. My story's not done yet. And you know what? It makes me crazy because our story is never done. And unless you can just embrace the story you're in now and somehow like get it out there, it's really, really hard to get to that next story, and the process of just sharing your story, like the story you have right this moment, the story that brought you to where you are right now is going to be what frees you up for your next better story.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I can't think of a better example actually than Glennon Doyle. I don't know if you've read her books, but she has
Untamed.
well,
Untamed, right?
Untamed is like the where she's at now type of story.
Okay.
But she within that book, I suppose, she has her stories from previously. She was touring with the book that was promoting her marriage, her saved marriage, that when she was touring it, her marriage was falling
Falling
apart.
apart.
It's that instance where you're just going from
I
that
know.
was me then and it was real then, and now this is me now and it is real now, and we're allowed to live all of those realities, and we're allowed to share all of those realities. And I think a really important part of, and I'm going to use Glennon Doyle as an example here because a really important part of her story was that the book about saving her marriage changed people's lives.
Yes.
It changed people's lives in really good ways. And
Mm-hmm.
then books about ending her marriage changed people's lives in
Yeah.
amazing ways. And they were real and they were raw and they were meaningful. And the way her life evolved and her family evolved was beautiful. And each of those stages, if she had have not shared that story, she would have kept that from people. And
Yes.
and I'm not saying that that's greedy. I'm not saying that, because everyone has their own ways of expressing their stories. But I like to think about the impact she made in each of those instances to hundreds of thousands of people
Yeah.
who would have maybe been stuck had they not heard the story.
Absolutely. So when somebody asked me, so I was fortunate to be asked to share my story by Michelle Prince, who has since been a mentor to me and really encouraged me to uh, create the same opportunity for the women of my organization. But when she asked me, I'm like, no. So I'm an introvert. I don't want people to know my life. I just wanted to kind of stay in my comfort zone. And then the next thing is like, well, who cares about my story? And that at that point, my story was about my divorce. It had nothing to do with business. It was how I was able to overcome a very, bad situation all the way around. Bad marriage, bad divorce, everything, just not good. But yet I came on the other side and created this amazing organization, bringing women together and uniting everybody in a lot of great ways. And so I ended up by saying yes, because she's like, Christie, if your story could just help one person, why would you say no?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, gosh, how can I say no to that? And so I ended up by doing it. I was scared to death. But when the first person reached out to me and thanked me for sharing my story, it just made it all worth it. It kind of reinforced that, yes, this is powerful. This is important. And that was what got me to say, yeah, I want my members, I want the women in my community to have the same opportunity. And it's not easy. We're going to come up with a million objections why we shouldn't. But we go through things on our journey and we don't always know why. But if we can help one person, it's like the rear view mirror, like whatever happened in our past, and what we were able to get through, what we were able to do to get through that, if we could share that wisdom or resources or anything around that to help somebody else get through it faster and not feel alone. And that's a big thing too. When people are going through struggle, when I was going through my divorce stories, I was like, it was horrendous. And if I would have been able to read a story from somebody else that had gone through something and got through it, I would have felt more empowered and not so alone. And I really feel that it would have helped me navigate the situation better.
That's beautiful. And that's a point that I want everybody to take home today, not just keep their story bottled up, but to share it. And in fact, that's why I have this platform. That's why I started Marketing Rebels, Breaking Business Barriers, because we are meant to break those barriers for one another so that it makes everyone's lives easier as we move forward as a society. That's why I have these calls every single week. So if you're enjoying this call right now, you're enjoying this conversation, make sure that you subscribe so you can catch the next call, because all of them are rich and just enlightening, empowering, just like this one. Now with that, Christie, unfortunately, we're coming to a close, so I need to ask you, is there anything burning in your heart that you really need to share with our audience today? And if so, and I know there is, because come on, you got a big heart, then I'm going to invite you to share it right now so that everyone can get a little piece of your glorious heart right now.
Yeah. So, like my goal is to help people profitize their purpose. And so if you are listening and you feel, you know what, I'm ready to step into my purpose. I'm ready to, claim my power and live for me, like follow my dreams. I just say, go do it. Like, go do it. But do it with somebody that's gone through what you're looking to do. I know there are a lot of experts out there. There are a lot of people that claim to be experts, but see if they've actually accomplished what you're looking to do. And then the next thing is see what their guarantee is. Because I learned the hard way. I got connected with a couple coaches that were and still are very successful. They charge a lot of money. And I thought, yes, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm worth it. I'm going to get the results. This person is great. But what I didn't realize is there was no guarantee, and that person didn't listen or pay attention to what I had or what I wanted. They just took my money and tried to squeeze me into what they had in place already. And so it was not a good fit. But it was a decision that I made, so I had to make it right. Plus, it was a decision, a contract that I couldn't get out of no matter what. So here I was paying like $900 a month for a program that I had no business being in. And so I just encourage you to buy your dreams, like connect with somebody that's going to help you get their dreams, but do your research. Don't just jump in head first. Make sure they have a guarantee and make sure that they've done what you're looking to do, and make sure that you're paying for the results, not all of the information. Like information without results doesn't help. And I know a lot of coaches out there teach content, they teach information, but none of it is strategy to get the results. And so just be careful, be wise. There are a lot of sharks out there, and you just want to make sure you do your due diligence to make sure that you're able to have your dream come true.
Absolutely. And when people want to dive deeper into your world and how you make this happen for them, they can do so with your guide.
Yes. So I would love to share. I know we talked about stories a lot, and I do have a couple of resources about stories. So once you get on my email list, if you want to, then there'll be a lot of other opportunities. I share a ton of resources. But the resource I'm sharing today is my Profitizer Program Action Guide. And so you can get that, and you can opt right out of my list if you want to right away. You don't have to get any more emails from me.
You're not going to want to.
But hey, everybody's, you know what? I'm all about keeping people's inboxes clean. And I'm about that too. We were just talking about this earlier. Like we get so many emails. So I won't be offended if you opt out at all. But just know that this guide is really all of the good, juicy pieces of what we teach our clients in our 7-figure book launch program on how to package your wisdom into a high impact program, and then use that wisdom to create a book We kind of teach a streamlined strategy of what we do. It's create your book in 30 days, and then use that book as a lead generation tool. So we go through this. I break all the rules in lead magnets, because it's not just a checklist or one-page thing. It is like a 48-page step-by-step process, that I am working on a little mini course that goes along with it. But it really is designed to help people figure out the foundational elements of what they want to do so they can start taking action. Then they know who they need to find to get them support along the way, because they at least have a step, their steps kind of like mapped out, and they know the direction they want to take.
Absolutely. No, I love that so much. And I want to make sure that I encourage everyone to dive into the world of Christie and explore, what does it look like to show up for myself, for my story, and for the impact that I could be making by taking those actions. An action guide is exactly what you want to do. And speaking of taking action, I want to remind you that if you can go to www.shaunalee.com, you'll have access to this conversation and many others, never mind other ways to kind of bring that story to the top and share it with the world. Because you know me and stories and marketing and fun, we like to get that stuff out into the world as much as possible. With that, thank you, Christie, so much for having this conversation with me. It has been rich and just absolutely enjoyable. To the rest of you, make sure you join in next week, because we have more conversations just like this every single week. We'll chat soon.